to Big Muddy Mayhem. This is the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart. But we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Tracey Laricha.
And I'm Janet O'Brien.
And we're ready to get muddy.
Hello!
Hello, Janet! Oh my gosh. How are you? How's your week been?
It's been great. I actually went to go see a band on Saturday night. It was my son's stepmom's band. She plays tenor sax, and
nice.
Went with some of our friends like Angelina and Heather Bell and Ben, and it was so much fun.
Oh, fun.
So they're like a 50s rock band.
And we all went to go and see a show last night as well.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
It was the Golden Girls. It was so much fun.
It's touring throughout the country. It really is cute. If it comes near you, you should go and see it.
Absolutely.
All right. Fantastic.
So I think we have some stories today.
We do have stories to tell. I do have my dog corralled, but again...
She's already right there.
How? I have no idea. But I took her collar off, so hopefully it will be a little bit less distracting. But she's incorrigible.
Yes. She's a sweet dog.
So I have the first story.
Yes, you do.
And I don't know if you know this one.
Okay.
But you might.
Okay.
And this is a story from Kentucky.
Okay.
And we are going to talk about Floyd Collins.
Floyd Collins. Why does this sound familiar? Anyway, go ahead.
As we get along, you might know a little bit. Floyd Collins is born in July 20th of 1887. He is the third of 8 kids. The family lives near Mammoth Cave.
Okay.
And exploring caves is... Oh, shoot. Okay. Exploring caves is kind of a thing that the family does.
Sure.
And he's really good at it.
Okay.
He is out and going and finding new caves by age of 6.
Okay.
He's collecting Native American artifacts and minerals and rocks, and he's selling them to tourists at the Mammoth Cave.
Oh, wow.
Which is the big cave that's nearby. The land is rocky. It's poor for farming, and his family is not well off. He drops out of school by the age of 10.
Okay.
So there are 2 things that are in play here. Number 1, the Kentucky Cave Wars.
Oh.
The early 20th century, roads and auto travel mean that people are going and, they're going on these things called vacations.
What is that?
So weird, right? And roadside attractions like caves are very popular. So where Floyd's family lives, competition is fierce.
Ah.
Cave owners are sabotaging one another.
What?
Right, because you're just along the road and it's
right.
Oh, well, come to my cave, not this cave. Come to this cave,
right.
not that cave. They put up signs saying that a cave is closed. They sabotage the roads. They sabotage the entrances.
Wow.
And they even dress up like policemen. To turn people away. I'm sorry, folks. Cave is closed.
Oh, my God.
Moose out front should have told you. Right?
Wow.
And that is called capping.
Capping? Okay.
Which is super freaking funny in 2024 when everything is like cap or no cap. Floyd is really, really, really good at what he does.
Okay.
And so I am going to pull up, here is Floyd Collins.
Okay. So he looks like an older guy.
This is
hair.
later in life.
Yeah. The guy below him, though.
Yes, so this is Floyd, when he's...
in a cave. Got it. Yeah, no, he looks a little dirty. Like he's been hanging around in a cave.
And he's in this tiny, teeny little crawl-through space.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is that he would go down into a cave, and then he would pop up miles away like a gopher.
Wow.
if he can just find one cave. Like I said, he is one of 8.
Wow. Okay.
His family is not well off.
Right.
If he can just find one.
Just one cave.
That will change everything for his family.
Absolutely.
1917, he does it. He finds Crystal Cave.
Oh,
which is this beautiful cave. It's full of gypsum crystals. Do you know what gypsum is?
I've heard the term.
It kind of looks like flowers when it grows.
Oh, okay.
Mammoth Cave is full of it as well. And then Merrimack Caverns.
They have a ton of it, yes.
Lots of gypsum. It's beautiful, but it's too remote.
Oh.
So travelers are passing by it. You can see he finds this beautiful open cavern.
That is amazing looking.
But there are too many others along the way. Nobody is gonna, like, by the time you get to cave number 7, you're just caved out.
Right.
Nobody is gonna go. Floyd thinks that Mammoth Cave and the other caves are all connected, so he keeps looking. Now he has agreement with a few other local farmers that are kind of up closer to along the highway.
Right.
Saying, hey, if I find this, then I'll find the cave. I'll open the cave. We can split the profits.
Oh, smart.
So he does find the cave because he is Floyd Collins. But he has to squeeze. And he goes through a passage that is 9 inches wide.
Oh my gosh, wow.
A dollar bill is 6 inches wide, y'all.
Wow.
So, 9 inches wide. If you're lucky, you've taken a bigger... I'm sorry, I won't go there. But then, after the 9-inch wide passage, you drop through a 10-foot drop.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And then it opens up into this big cavern that is exactly what he's been looking for.
Wow.
It's precisely what he wanted.
Nice.
And so, January 30th, 1925.
Okay, 1925.
And this is a cave that we're going to eventually call Sand Cave.
Okay.
Floyd has been working to open up the entrance and make it tourist safe.
Sure, absolutely.
Tourist friendly. He's been down there for a few hours, working on, like, keeping on.
Right, exactly.
His lantern is going out. He's running out of fuel.
Oh.
So he heads out. And as he's climbing out, he kicks over his lantern.
Uh-oh.
Now he's in the dark. To make it worse, as he goes to kind of push against the cave wall... Well, it wasn't really the cave wall. It was like a loose stone, and so a 26-pound boulder falls down on his leg.
Oh, no!
And the cave wall shifts. Everything is, like, on him, and he is stuck in the cave.
Oh, no.
Now, his position, he's got a 26-pound boulder.
Right.
On one leg. His other leg is kind of, like, hunched up, you know, like knees to chest.
Right.
He has one arm, like up against him.
Oh my.
And one arm kind of down, trapped around his body.
Oh my gosh.
And there's all this gravel. So he is stuck in this position.
Oh no.
Like John Travolta in Saturday Night Live. Like Hamilton in the t-shirt of Hamilton. Like he is there. He screams for help, which is pretty much the only thing you can do.
Right.
Eventually he passes out.
Oh.
He wakes up the next morning and he's screaming for help again. So neighbors the next day, it's not unusual for Floyd to be gone for a little while. But then they're like, it's been a day.
Maybe we should go look at that.
Right. They go and they find his coat hanging outside
Oh, okay.
of this cave.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, he must be down there. They send a couple of people down, but nobody can get close enough.
Oh, no.
Because of this 9-inch squeeze, right? Eventually, they send this teenage boy down.
Okay.
And he is able to get close enough to Floyd. He can't reach him, but he's like close enough to be like, Floyd's like, get me out of here! Right?
Right.
And so on January 31st, they're able to kind of reach Floyd, and then they go and they get his brother. And his brother Homer is able to bring food and water and get sustenance to Floyd.
Right, absolutely.
Now, Floyd has been down there for like a day and a half.
Wow.
I want to point out that what Homer brings...
What does he bring?
a little over a liter of coffee.
How about, I don't know,
Water? Well, a little over a liter of coffee. And Homer also brings him, and he eats, apparently, 9 sausage sandwiches.
Okay. Now,
So, a whole bunch of coffee and 9 Jimmy Deans. Might I mention also that, man, Floyd does not have a bathroom.
No.
So this is gonna get gross, Yellow. Floyd is trapped like this, and I couldn't find a good picture, so I had to draw one for you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I see.
So there's the 10-foot
drop. Right. He's
and
on...
then it's basically like a capital letter L. There's a big drop, and then Floyd is in the bottom of the letter L. And his head is close to like the junction of the letter L. But he has on the far end of the short side of the letter L, he has a rock
on his leg.
on his leg, and then a whole bunch of gravel.
Oh my God.
And so the way that this works is that, like, all right, rescuers, they have to do one of a few things. If you go down head first, like, you can say hello.
Right.
But you can't really, move too much rubble. If you go down like, feet first, you can't do anything.
No.
So... another thing that is happening right now is that water is dripping steadily.
Oh, no.
Onto Floyd's forehead.
Oh, no. It's like a torture device.
It is absolutely like that.
Oh, my God.
I mean, he's down there in the cave, and that's one thing that they, like, he asks for food, he asks for drink.
Sure.
And the big thing is he's like, can somebody bring me like a washcloth or something so that I'm not getting
dripped on the entire time.
This
literal
Chinese water torture.
Right, exactly.
On the center of his forehead. Homer, after a little while, like almost a full day, eventually has to come up. But he talks to the crowd that is rapidly gathering up at the entrance of the cave. And he's like, hey, could you please tend to Floyd? Please bring him water. Bring him a towel. Bring him stuff. Now, nobody apart from Homer has the courage to actually go down and reach Floyd.
Right.
But... nobody also wants to be like, I'm sorry, I wussed out. So they hide. Like, they go to bring him water, blankets, a lantern. The people that go down next are just like, oh yeah, no, he ate those sausages. They were just great,
How about Getting him out of the hole.
And they chuck them in the corner and just, like, lie about it.
Oh, my God.
So
wow.
Floyd is down there, and Homer thinks that Floyd is getting some kind of
Oh, my God.
of treat, but, like, or some kind of food and sustenance. But Floyd is not doing,
Right.
like, not getting anything.
Oh, my God. So he's not being taken care of.
Right. So they hide the provisions, and they lie rather than being like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was a wuss, I wouldn't, like, I couldn't go down there. February 2nd, 1925.
Mm-hmm.
Now again, he's been trapped since January 30th.
Okay, wait a minute. How many days have passed?
From January 30th to February 2nd.
Oh,
so
okay.
we're like 4 days in.
4 days in. Okay.
Enter William Burke Miller.
Okay.
We're going to call him Skeets.
Okay, Skeets.
Because everybody does. And it's fun to say.
Yes.
Skeets Miller.
Uh-huh.
He is a reporter.
Okay.
And he's there to get the story.
Of course.
He comes up to Homer and asks about, like, hey, how's it going? Now, there have been steadily increasing crowds at the entrance. The heat from all of these people is starting to create problems with the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody is really helping, but everybody has ideas about
Of course.
what they should. Well, opinions are like assholes, right? Everybody has one, and they're usually full of shit. So anyway, opinions. We need to send down a contortionist with a chisel. Maybe he should just untie his shoes. Maybe we should use dynamite.
No!
And now Skeets is here, and Skeets goes to talk to Homer.
Mm-hmm.
And Homer is on his last good nerve.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
This is his brother.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, if you want information, there's a hole right over there, and you can go down and see for yourself.
Oh, wow.
But there's two things we don't know about Skeets.
Okay.
Number one, he is a small man of 117 pounds.
Okay.
And number two, he is going to get his story.
Oh.
So Skeets
goes
down, crunches through that 9-inch passageway, drops through that 10-foot hole. He reaches Floyd. Floyd is cold. He's delirious. He's rambling. The fires at the entrance are increasing melt, which is not helping the cave. And he's cold. He's wet. He's soaking. There are, at this point, about 200 people up top.
Oh, my God.
79 hours in the cave.
Wow.
Skeets comes back up and is like, hey, this is what happens. Homer kind of realizes that, like, Skeets is there for the right reasons, as they would say on The Bachelor. Like, he wants the story, but he's also concerned.
Right, absolutely.
And there to help. So at 79 hours in, more help arrives. Sort of. Help comes in the form of Robert Burden. He is with the Louisville Fire Department.
Okay.
He's got a great idea.
Okay.
He's there to help.
And how is he going to help?
They're going to use a rope and they're going to pull Floyd out.
Okay.
But because of this whole rock situation, odds are good that they're going to pull Floyd out, but he's probably maybe going to lose his foot.
Yeah, well, you know.
They give him whiskey, more sausage biscuits, more coffee, and a sedative.
Okay, well, the sedative makes sense.
Right. They pull. And Homer is down there in the hole with Floyd.
Right.
They pull. Floyd is in crazy pain.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
He's screaming for them to stop.
Oh.
Homer yells for them to stop. So 2 things are happening. Number one, not only are they maybe about to pull his foot from his body,
right,
but the way that he is trapped and with all the gravel, it's not just the foot, it's also that the gravel is falling down on his chest, so he's being crushed, so he can't breathe. So Homer is like, stop, 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 but nobody hears him. Homer ends up like pulling the other way as the people up top are pulling in one direction.
Right.
So Homer wins the tug of Floyd.
Tug of Floyd.
But Floyd is still trapped.
Right.
And now we enter Johnny Gerald.
Okay.
Now, he's a good guy.
Okay.
Like, we can cheer for him.
Okay.
He's a childhood friend, and he's an expert caver.
Well, that's the person you should have called 4 days
Completely.
ago.
He's actual help, and he moves about for real. Like, in the next day or so, they use an empty syrup can to gradually dig gravel out of the hole. Within a day or so, Johnny, by himself, moves about a ton of gravel.
Wow.
Out of around Floyd's body. And they get him freed just a little bit. He can wiggle his arms, and he can finally move his foot.
Oh, my God.
Which has been numb because it's been...
under a rock.
for hours, days.
Right, days.
Right. Floyd is so relieved. He's like, oh my God, I know he's going to get me out. Johnny is there. Meanwhile, Skeets has been down and interviewing Floyd for the last few days. And he's now a little bit more lucid because they have been able to get him food and water. And he's got a little bit of company. I mean, imagine being down there for 3 days alone in the dark.
That is so crazy.
I know. So he's feeling a little bit more hopeful. Floyd says to Skeets that he knows in his heart he'll be brought out alive with both his feet. And he sends all of his love and all of his thanks to the people up top. And he says he'll keep trying to do what he can to, like, keep the faith and...
oh, wow.
And still... like, help move whatever rocks he can. And he's so grateful for the people up top that are thinking about him.
Wow.
Speaking of that, we're looking at February 3rd.
Okay.
1925.
Okay.
Oh, and here's Skeets, right? I showed you.
Oh, yeah, okay. No,
he's tiny.
Yeah, he's tiny.
He's tired.
Yes.
Look at Homer, too. Like, everybody that is down there.
Yeah, they are tired.
They're so working for him. Anyway, they're up at the top. It's a complete freaking circus.
Sure.
There are vendors. There are moonshiners. There's a juggler. There's a preacher. There's a band.
Oh, my God!
Hotels in the town are full.
Oh, my God.
The banks are out of money.
Oh, my God.
The restaurants are out of food. People are paying a freaking fortune to be able to sleep in a bathtub.
Oh, my God.
Somewhere in the town. This is a city of 690 people.
Oh, my God.
At its heyday, there will be 10,000 people.
Oh, my God.
I mean, do we even know, like, a city of 690 people?
I mean, no, there's plenty of them, but yeah, I mean...
And then...
just being overwhelmed.
10,000, there's so many. Down in the cave, Skeets manages to do this thing where he kind of climbs on top of Floyd. I showed you
how he's
the drawing.
Right.
So basically, Skeets is laying with his foot on a rock, Floyd is laying with his foot like crushed by a rock. And Skeets managed to climb on top of him. So they're like kind of almost in a 69 position. And Floyd is stuck, and Skeets uses a jack.
Oh my God.
And then tries a couple of wooden blocks to push up the jack because it's too small.
Wow.
To get the rock off of his foot.
Wow.
And Floyd is able to finally move his foot.
Holy crap.
And then the wooden block breaks. And he's stuck again.
Oh no.
Meanwhile, up top, the National Guard has arrived. They're headed up by Henry Carmichael. They offer surveyors. They offer help. The governor of Kentucky says, Kentucky's purse strings are open.
Okay.
They are going to do whatever the hell they can to get this guy out, because this is a nationwide story.
Right.
They managed to get some electric lights down the shaft, and they put one around Floyd's neck, which gives him light.
Right.
Because he's been down there in the dark for days.
Right.
And it also provides a little bit of warmth because, again, as everything is up top of the cave, that's causing cave melt. And some of that is right under him. So he's been in a puddle of cold water for days. The heat from up top, again, ever increasing, it's causing the cave structure to change.
Oh, no.
And so this all starts, I believe, on January 30th.
Yes.
February 4th.
Oh my God.
The cave collapses in two places.
Oh no.
They try to reach Floyd, and nobody can get to him.
Oh.
And they can't see his light anymore.
Oh no.
Up top, at the carnival,
yeah.
in between rounds of cotton candy, everybody is yelling at each other, pointing fingers. Skeets tries to get to Floyd. He comes out and he tells people, do not go down there, and under no circumstances should you allow Homer to go down there. Johnny Gerald, who's the second best caver in Kentucky, he goes down and he manages to clear some rubble. He reaches Floyd, who is alive.
What?
He brings Floyd some food and some water. I mean, I don't know how many sausage sandwiches a man is supposed to endure.
But,
But the next day, he goes back down to continue his work, and the rubble has just filled in.
Oh.
It's hopeless. It's hopeless.
Aww.
The National Guard isn't letting anybody else back down there. Johnny and Homer, they fight with them.
Right.
That's my brother, that's my friend. They're banned from the site. The National Guard says, all right, we're going to do something different.
Okay.
We're going to try to dig a shaft from up top and just get right to where he is. But they have to stop because they bring in all this equipment and they assemble it, and they're like, oh, we're going to get the shaft, going. Janet.
Tracy.
It's all gas-powered equipment. Do you know what happens when you have a hole at the top of the ground and it goes down into a cave?
What happens?
All the air kind of gets sucked into the cave.
Oh.
And it's gas.
Yeah.
So they can't do this, or they're going to full-on asphyxiate Floyd, which might have been the nicest thing.
Right.
So they have to try again. Different shaft, different equipment. Now it's all hand-powered.
Okay.
They have to go 55 feet.
Wow.
He thinks it's going to be 30 hours tops. It's not.
No, of course it's not.
Floyd at this point has been in the cave for 215 hours, almost 9 days.
Wow.
They've done 17 feet of the 55 that they need, and now the ground, instead of just being like dirt, is pretty much pure like stone. Limestone.
Of course, it's a cave.
Right.
It turns out.
Turns out it's a cave. But they do still have the lights there. And one thing that does happen is they hook up a radio amplifier to the copper wires.
Okay. Oh.
And copper is
Yes, it is.
Conductive, right? So they are catching little blips on the copper wire 20 times a minute. Which is correlative to human breath.
Oh, wow.
So he's breathing.
Wow.
They can tell he's alive down there because of this copper wire.
That is so crazy.
And this amplifier. Now, the light bulb will eventually burn out.
Of course.
But by then, they're really close.
Okay.
So that's all helpful.
Mm-hmm.
There are also some things that are not helpful. This story is now worldwide. Radio is a new thing. So it's all over the radio stations. It's all over the newspapers. Everybody is reporting daily. The White House is asking for daily reports. This is the third biggest story of the time. The two that are bigger. Lindbergh had just finished his transatlantic flight.
Wow.
And there's the Lindbergh baby kidnapping and murder.
Yes.
And now there's Floyd.
Wow.
Like right behind them. So with this, because you get the publicity, you also get the hoaxes.
Oh, of course, of course.
Floyd is dead.
No, he's not.
Floyd isn't really trapped. He just leaves the cave every night. And goes home and then goes back and is like, oh, help me. The next day. And all these people, I'm Floyd. One guy even sends a telegram saying like, Mother, I'm not really trapped and I'll be coming home soon.
Oh my God, no.
To Floyd's mom.
Oh my God.
Who's been dead for 10 years. So this is awful. And it leads into state investigations of these people that are trying to help. So, Homer, Johnny, Skeet, and Floyd's dad are all kind of like basically put on state trial in the middle of the worst times in their life. Right?
Wow.
And eventually they're exonerated, but by this time, we're 360 hours in.
Oh my God.
The shaft is now at 55 feet. The light bulb is out, but we're so close. We're not going to give up now, right?
Exactly.
So they are still working on the second shaft at 411 hours, which is now, to do the math, this is a little over 17 days.
Jeez.
17 days.
Wow.
They reach Floyd, and they see a glint of light when they push the light down into the hole. But that glint is the reflection off of Floyd's gold tooth. Floyd is gone.
Aw. Wow.
17 days later, they fill the shaft, and Floyd is gone. They fill the shaft. It's too
done.
dangerous to go down and try to retrieve the body.
Wow.
But if you know me, you know I picked this story because we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
Remember how Floyd was looking for a cave along the road so it would be like more accessible to tourists?
Absolutely.
Remember how he was going to split the profits with the farmer that owned the land?
Right.
Wherever it was that he found one? Yeah, well, The owner of the land starts charging 50 cents to go and see the hole where Floyd is trapped.
Oh my God!
Underneath. Homer wants so badly to retrieve the remains of his brother.
Of course.
That, that's another thing, too, is that, like, after all of this, we should mention Skeets Miller, who is, like, really my favorite person in this story.
Uh-huh.
Skeets is offered $50,000 in, like, 1920s money.
Wow.
To go on lecture circuit and talk about it.
Wow.
And he won't. He just stays and remains a journalist in Louisville.
Wow.
Because he's like, I'm not going to capitalize.
No.
Well, he was down there in the,
the hole, right.
in the hole, like, doing interviews, like, and spending time with this man.
Right.
So Skeet says no thank you to the money. Homer says yes thank you to the money, but mostly because he just needs to, like, this family has nothing.
Right.
And all he wants is to just get his brother out of this hole. So he goes on an 8-month lecture tour, raises the money, and brings Floyd's body out of the hole.
Wow.
They have to go down, like, they basically go down through his feet because they don't have to worry about...
Right.
Exactly. Danger now. So they drag him out that way. And so Floyd does leave the cave on April 17th, 1925. And he does exit the cave with both of his feet.
Oh my God. Wow.
Now, April 26th, Floyd is buried on the family plot, on the family homestead. And they put a stalagmite as his headstone.
Okay.
Now, the Collins family, by 1927, 2 years later, they've fallen on some really hard times. I mean, this has not been a wealthy family all along. The father, Lee, he sells the family homestead to a local dentist named Harry B. Thomas for $10,000.
Okay.
Now, he's not an educated man. He just kind of, like, it's a handshake deal.
Right.
Lee doesn't fully grasp that selling the farm means selling rights to everything on the farm.
Oh.
Including Floyd's remains.
Oh, no.
So Henry Thomas does what anyone would do. He digs Floyd up. He puts him in a glass coffin and he puts him back in the fucking cave.
Oh my God! What?
I know. The family sues, but the courts side with Thomas. Like, this is written. Lee has put his name to paper. Right?
Oh my God.
So Floyd is now a huge tourist attraction.
Oh my God!
I don't know why I love stories where, like, the body goes on an adventure.
Right.
But I guess I do. All right, 1929.
Uh-huh.
Grave robbers sneak into the cave. And they steal Floyd.
Oh my God!
They take him out. I don't understand why this happens, but it does. They cut off one of his legs, the leg that was stuck under the rock. And we think...
You think?
That they intend to throw him into the Green River.
Oh my God.
But doesn't make it all the way down and the body ends up stuck in a bush.
Oh my God.
The next morning,
Uh-huh.
Dr. Thomas realizes that his cash cow is missing,
Uh-huh.
calls the police. They start looking around, and that's how the body is found. So, the body is returned. He doesn't put Floyd in a glass coffin anymore. He puts him in, like, something a little bit more sturdy.
Right.
And puts a chain around it. puts it right back down in the cave.
Oh my god!
And it stays there for decades. But now that it's in, like, I think a wooden cave, or a wooden coffin.
Right.
Every 10 years or so, they have to, like, swap it out. Otherwise, the smell is really bad.
Yeah.
Floyd stays on display for decades.
Wow.
All right. So, again, we are looking at what? We're like 1925 is when Floyd dies.
Right.
1929 is when the grave robbers happen.
Right.
1961.
Oh my god!
The cave is now sold to the federal government as part of Mammoth Cave National Park.
Aha!
They close the cave, seal up all the entrances. They're like, they want the ground, but they don't necessarily want the cave because it's not that safe.
Sure. Clearly it's not safe.
And then finally, in 1989... So 1925 to 1989, the body is finally returned to the family.
Oh my god.
And Floyd Collins is buried in Mammoth Cave Baptist Church.
Oh wow.
I'm going to show you, like, there's all of the people up at the top.
Holy cow.
And here's Floyd in the glass coffin.
Oh my god.
And then here is Floyd's final resting place.
Wow.
In 1989.
That is so crazy.
And so he is finally laid to rest, and that is where he is today. And my sources today for this story were multiple. There's a whole lot. And boy, listeners, I skimmed over like just the very, very basic details of the story. If you want to know more, there is so much more. The Kentucky Cave Wars, all on their own, are their whole other story. But today I looked at BitChute.com, CuriousKentucky.com, MentalFloss.com, of course, Wikipedia, NPS.gov, podcasts, GhoulishTendancies.com had a lot of details. I got the idea from a years ago story from the Dollop.com. I didn't listen to the Dollop episode specifically, purposely, because I didn't want to. But I can't say that, like, I didn't know a little bit of that story from them, so maybe some of that. There's also a really good book called Trapped, The Story of Floyd Collins by Robert Brucke. And, another good thing. Two things that I couldn't even get into. Number one, there has been a Broadway musical made about this. There's a podcast called Broadway Baby that talks about it. And there is, like, if you just Google Floyd Collins musical, I didn't even let myself look at it because I was already over it. And then the other thing is, so Trapped, the story of Floyd Collins, that book, the rights to the movie have been bought by Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh my god!
So
maybe there's a movie.
I hope that eventually we can go and see the Floyd Collins movie. And that is my story of Kentucky Caver Floyd Collins.
That's amazing.
And the history of Sand Cave.
Wow. That was a great story. Oh my god.
I know. I've been waiting to do this one for a while because I needed one where I had a little bit of extra time because there's so much.
Right.
And I cut like half of it out.
That was amazing.
Yay!
Oh, I have a story.
Oh.
I have a story.
I would like to just sit back and listen to a story right now.
Right? Okay, so I'm going to start with something a little bit different. I'm going to go over a thing, and then we're going to go into the actual story itself. And Blue really wants to give me her toy.
I know.
So adorable.
I'm going to, real quick, before we do this, I'm going to put her back in here.
Okay, that's fine. Oh,
I know, I keep telling Ryder that I'm like, Blue just wants to be the third host on our podcast.
And that's fine.
You want, oh, sorry. You
Don't worry.
watched me, though. I put her.
I know, and she's still right here.
She's a Houdini.
Okay.
All right.
So
Tell me a story.
So I'm going to start off with a movie. Okay, I'm going to start off with a movie. Do you like Alfred Hitchcock?
I do.
Okay. Do you remember the movie Rope?
Yes! Actually, maybe one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock movies.
Okay. So if you, the audience, if you do not know about this movie,
So good.
it came out in 1920. It was, okay, let's see here. It was based, the movie came out in 1948. It was Alfred Hitchcock. It was based on a 1929 play with the same name by Patrick Hamilton. It was also adapted to screenplay by Arthur Lawrence. Rope the movie starred Jimmy Stewart. Love Jimmy Stewart. He was the professor. Basically, the basis of the story is that there's these two. They're adults now. They're very young adults, but they both went to a prep.
College kids. Yeah.
They went to a prep school together. Brandon Shaw and Philip Morgan. The story goes is that they had been talking to the
professor.
Right, they were talking to the professor, and he starts explaining this thing called, it's basically a Superman thing, like you are above the law.
Completely. And then when you and that feeds into one another. Right.
Exactly. And so they end up committing, what they want to do is they want to commit a crime as an intellectual exercise to prove their superiority by committing the perfect murder. After they invite this old prep school student that they used to go to school with, and they end up strangling him with a rope.
Right, and they're like, oh, I bet we could get away with it. And that's just it. It's kind of that whole, like, oh, I bet we could do it and get away with it.
Right, so they hide the body in an antique wooden chest, and then they proceed to have a dinner party in the movie.
Where the body is in the chest.
And they serve the food on top of the chest.
And pull out, I think in the movie, he's like, oh, well, you should come over and see my collection of rare books. And they bring them out. And they invite, like, the parents and
so they invite in guests that they invite the victim's fiance. They invite her father. The fiance's mother doesn't show up. The mother of the guy that they killed does not show up because she's sick. But they also invite his fiance's former lover, just to, like, throw in things, you know, because this is a movie.
Mix it up.
Right, and the murder was...
A party should be interesting.
Right, exactly. And the reason why they did this murder in the movie is because they had a conversation with the prep school headmaster, who was played by Jimmy Stewart, about this thing called Nietzsche's. It's Nietzsches, Superman.
Nietzsche?
Right, to show their superiority over others. What does it matter? I don't know. And then when they invite the headmaster, they're like, look what we did. It's a work of art. And Jimmy Stewart's like, what the hell did you do?
Completely. And he's the one that kind of...
He's just like, no. Yeah, it's just... You should see the movie. It's a really good movie.
It is a good movie.
The movie is really cool because it looks like it's one shot. Because
that is exactly it, though. They did. They shot it, like, all in... Like, they didn't change the... They had to change the film.
Right. But it looks like it's all one shot.
But it is all filmed from one perspective, which leads to that kind of feeling of, like, you're trapped in a room.
Right. It's super crazy.
Oh, it's so good.
It's such a good movie. Okay. Have you heard, now I'm switching, have you heard of Leopold and Loeb?
Yes.
This movie was based on a true story. So, Nathan Leopold, he was born November 9th, 1904. Richard Loeb was born June 11th, 1905. They were both from very wealthy families. They both lived in Chicago. They ended up meeting the summer of 1920. Loeb has already graduated from high school at the age of 14.
Okay.
Leopold, he is about to start to take fall classes at the same school at the University of Chicago.
Okay.
Loeb, we're just going to call him Richard from this point on, was the son of the vice president of Sears Roebuck.
Oh! So he's got that kind of money.
Yeah, his family in 1924 money was worth $10 million.
Good gracious.
Right? And then Leopold, we'll call him Nathan from this point on, was studying for law school, and his family was worth $4 million in 1924. So 1924 money, $4 million.
Right. So we're looking at Nathan and Richard.
Right. So Nathan and Richard, they end up meeting like just before.
And they're poor little rich boys.
Oh yeah, just terrible. Nathan, he had a big and excuse me.
It's okay.
Nathan, he had a big interest in studying birds. Specifically the Kirkland's warbler. So just put that in your hat. He just likes birds.
Warbler.
Yeah, he just happens to really, really like birds. So they end up connecting. They're both very smart. They both come from very wealthy families.
Okay.
Richard is very charming, well-dressed. When he walks into a room, he lights up a room. Nathan is kind of dark. He's kind of guy, like, if you met him, you probably wouldn't like him. He's kind of a know-it-all.
Okay.
So
Nathan is the Leopold?
Yeah, so Nathan is
Leopold
and
Richard is
Loeb.
Okay.
Right. So they grew up in the Kenwood neighborhood, which is an affluent
Don't
neighborhood.
pull over, y'all. I just live in the city.
Or as Anti-Chef would say, I hope everyone's okay. They grew up in the same neighborhood in the south side of Chicago, but it was a very affluent neighborhood called Kenwood neighborhood.
Okay.
Let's see here. They end up hanging out a lot in 1920. By 1921, they end up falling in love. This is in the 20s.
Together.
Exactly.
Oh.
So they kind of have a thing for each other. Again, Richard is super charming, whatever. Then Richard starts to do some things.
Loeb is also there.
Richard's like, I'm a bored rich kid. Let's do some fun crimes together. Why don't we do some crimes?
Why not?
Hey, Nathan, you want to do those crimes with me? And Nathan's like, sure. However, if we do, we have to exchange something here. You know what I mean?
Oh.
A little sex. So they start off with some vandalism. They end up stealing cars. They do some arson. Rich kid bored things.
They aren't getting attention at home, and so they're trying to do things that are...
Right. That no one's going to go after them. They're these two rich kids, right?
Right. Okay.
So as the relationship continues, Nathan, he starts to look into this Superman concept that we were talking about on the movie Rope.
Oh dear.
Same concept.
Why don't we do this big thing? Like,
right. So
why don't we tweak the people that should be able to figure us out?
Right, like, oh, you know what? We're gonna do the same thing because, well, again, this is before a movie because the movie was created because of this.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, we're above the law. We are better than everyone else. Let's try to do the perfect crime.
Okay.
So in a letter that to Richard from Nathan, a Superman is an account of certain superior qualities inherent of him, exempt from the ordinary laws which govern men. He is not liable for anything he may do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So there was a crime that they committed when they were still doing all their like petty crimes. One of these boys, their parents had a summer home up in Michigan.
Okay.
And so they ended up breaking into a fraternity house up in Michigan at the University of Michigan, and they stole a typewriter. Put the typewriter in your cap. Some pen knives and a camera. Since they were getting zero media coverage for all the other things they were doing, they were like, you know what? We're going to get some media coverage.
So I have a typewriter and a bird that I'm holding on to, yes?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So Nathan is 19 at this point. Richard is 18. They decided, and they planned this they were planning this for 7 months.
Whoa.
A really long time. They decided they wanted to kidnap and murder a young adolescent to see if they could get away with it.
Okay.
Because
any particular or just in general?
You'll see. So they spend 7 months planning. They are deciding on how they're going to abduct this person and how they're going to dispose of the body. They were going to come up with an idea. They decided, okay, how are we going to confuse them? Oh, I know. We're going to do several ransom notes where we give them complex instructions, and it will be communicated one set at a time by the phone.
Okay.
So the last ransom was typed with instructions involving where the money would be dropped. They bought a chisel to knock out the victim unconscious, and then they were going to buy a rope.
Sure.
And they were going to put it around their victim's neck and pull. Each one will have an end of the rope.
So that it's equal.
Yeah.
Everybody is
exactly
complicit.
So they decide their target is going to be this kid, this 14-year-old by the name of Bobby Franks. He is the son of a wealthy watch manufacturer who lives right across the street.
Okay. And he has, like, his connection to them is...
He happens to be the cousin of Richard.
Oh, holy shit, really?
Right, yes. They're related.
Okay.
So, and they are totally 100% thinking they're going to get away with this. So, May 21st, 1924, Nathan rents a car under the name Morton D. Ballard, and they're driving around the neighborhood. They see, Bobby Franks walking down the street, and they're like, they're going to offer him a ride. Bobby's just trying to walk home. He's just trying to walk home.
Right, yeah.
And then he first declines. He's like, I'm only 2 blocks from my house. I don't need a car ride. I'm like...
Completely. Who needs,
Right. And then Richard's like, hey, if you get in the car, we can talk about, this tennis racket because they apparently all did tennis, rich boy stuff. So he's like, let's talk about this fancy new tennis racket you have. So they get Bobby into the front seat.
Oh, gosh.
Nathan is driving, supposedly. Richard is sitting in the back seat. As soon as Bobby Franks gets in the car, it starts. Richard, from the back seat, starts bludgeoning him with the chisel.
Oh.
And in the head. And then he ends up dragging him to the back seat and shoves a rag into Bobby's mouth, which basically just suffocates him, and he dies in the back seat. So he can't
scream.
No.
Right.
And he dies because he's suffocated by this rag in his mouth. They end up like, okay, we killed him, now what? So they drive to the wetlands that's near Lake Michigan, and on their way they stop and get a hot dog and a soda.
Wow. Well, you could also choke on a hot dog, Janet. So who's to say that he didn't just
So
bite down a chili dog too fast.
Right. And so they end up getting to where they get near Wolf
like, I would love to choke on a hot dog.
They get to Wolf Lake, which is in Hammond, Indiana. That's only 40 miles from Chicago, which is south of Chicago. They take off all of his clothes, Bobby Frank's clothes. He's already dead. They use hydrochloric acid to burn his face off.
Oh my gosh.
And his genitals. Because they don't want it to look, if you can tell if he's circumcised or not. I don't know. whatever. That's what they do.
Okay.
So, and then they just leave him in this drain that's like near the lake. And then they go back home. So while they're driving home, when they return, word is already spreading that Bobby Franks didn't make it home because he should have been home like hours ago.
Completely. Right.
Then Nathan calls Bobby Frank's mother and calls himself, "My name is George Johnson." He tells them that Bobby has been kidnapped and says, "We're going to call you back with instructions on how to get this ransom money." He's already dead.
Right. So, like, how are you even going to prove?
Just so bad. And then they end up mailing.
But also, if you're the mother, like, how do you not go down every freaking foxhole?
Right, exactly.
Like, if it were your kid?
I don't even want to think.
What would you do?
I don't know.
What would you do? Like, how many places would... I don't even have kids.
Right.
But if it were like my cat, I would be like, I'll meet you in this abandoned mine shaft at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes, absolutely. With $5,000 cash. Yes.
So then they get... Remember that typewriter I mentioned they stole? From the university? They use that typewriter and they type out a ransom note. And then they mail it to the Franks' house because this has the instructions on how they're going to get the ransom.
Oh my gosh.
And then they end up burning all of their stained blood clothes from bludgeoning them in the car, and they clean the blood from the car. And then they spend the evening.
But do they really
Well, remember this is like 1924.
Okay.
There's no black light to find that. You know
there
what I mean?
are no Mr. Clean magic erasers.
No.
There are no black lights.
No.
Fair.
So after they clean the car, they end up spending the evening just playing cards, like nothing happened. Oh wow. Who
won?
I don't know. It didn't say. And then following morning, the Franks receive, the Franks end up receiving the typed letter. Nathan calls a second time to give them the first set of instructions for the payment, but then that is completely abandoned because Bobby Frank's body has already been found.
Oh, wow.
So the boys are like, okay, well, I guess we got to get rid of all our stuff that we did.
Completely, right.
So they take the typewriter, they burn the typewriter. There's a car robe, which is basically a lap blanket. Mm-hmm. That was what they used to move the body. They burn that. And then they just go back to their normal lives. So during this time, during the investigation, both boys enjoyed chatting with their friends and family about the murder. Not saying that they did it, but they had a lot of comments about it. Like, oh, well, what do you think? Oh, well, if I was blah, blah, blah. They're just, kind of... They're talking about that murder a little too much.
Everybody thinks that social media is the problem, but this has existed for centuries.
Yes. It just spreads faster. So they made jokes about it, and they... I know! They were just not nice about it. Enter Robert Crowe. Robert Crowe, he is the Illinois state attorney who was elected to clean up crime in Chicago.
Okay.
And he's gunning to become a mayor.
All right, well.
So the police, when they found the body, they also found a pair of glasses. Mm-hmm. They just assume it's Bobby Frank's glasses. So when they end up taking the body to the morgue, they put the glasses on the body.
And it fits.
Yeah, when the family shows up, they're like, those are not his glasses. He doesn't wear glasses. They're like,
oh.
Because, they found the glasses that were right by the body. And
but maybe they're the killers and not the bodies, right?
So I think the cops just
Am
assumed.
I onto something here?
Yes, you are. Oh. So they find out that even though the prescription was a fairly normal, eyeglass prescription, it had special frames that had a hinge on them. And apparently in Chicago, there was only 3 pairs of these glasses.
Holy shit.
I know! How? I mean, Chicago was huge in 1924. Huge! So 3 pairs of glasses. 3. That's it. So they like tracked down. They're like, okay, who bought the glasses? Okay, well that guy, he bought a pair of glasses. He was out of the state during that time. Okay, this woman bought the same pair of glasses. Well, they like immediately figure out it's not her. Third person who bought the glasses happened to be Nathan Leopold.
My jaw is dropped.
Right. Oh my God.
Choke me with a hot dog. Because...
When they spoke to Nathan, he said he was not a suspect because he, he's freaking filthy rich, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, he doesn't seem. What benefit does he have at all to kill this kid? Doesn't make any sense.
And this is Leopold, right?
Yes, Nathan.
Well, because he's getting it with Loeb, right?
Yeah.
Or am I
No,
on?
you are kind of. So anyway, they end up talking to him, and he's like, well, I'm a bird. He studies birds. Remember how I mentioned the warbler at the beginning?
Uh-huh.
So he goes on bird expeditions, and this just happens to be one of the areas that he goes on bird expeditions where they drop the body. So he's like, oh, they probably fell out of my pocket when we were like looking at birds because that's what I do, blah blah blah. And they're like, that's interesting. So that was his excuse on why his glasses just happened to be nearby.
I've been called a red-throated warbler before.
So this is what the boys told the police.
Okay.
They stated that the night of the murder, they were out drinking around, and they were also driving around in Nathan's vehicle. And while they were driving, they ended up picking up 2 girls. Total lie. They said they were fooling around with the girls, and then when they propositioned the girls to have sex, the girls were like, no. And then the boys dropped off the girls at a nearby golf course, and they never got the girls' last names. So there's nobody to,
corroborate that.
Exactly. While being interrogated by Crow, which is, the guy who's trying to be a lawyer, the police go and ransack Nathan's room at his house.
Okay.
They're like, something's not right. They end up finding the letter suggesting the boys were lovers. At this point, Crow felt like there was something a little suspicious. Something's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Nathan's father, who is trying anything he can to get these kids out of this situation, he's like, I'm going to send the chauffeur over to Crow's office,
right,
and say,
oh my gosh,
tell him some stuff. And so the chauffeur shows up and says, well, they weren't driving their, he's like, there's no way they could have done it because Nathan's car was actually in our garage being fixed, which was like, whoops, because the boys had told them they were driving around in Nathan's car.
Right!
So it's like, oh, the father did not help. The father didn't help at all. He did the opposite of helping. So they're like, that's interesting because they told us something different.
That's why you need your alibi to be
I know!
in on the details of your freaking cover-up.
So also they noticed by the handwriting on the ransom note, it just happened to match Nathan's.
Oh my.
The typewriter matched the typed letter, and they found the destroyed, burned typewriter at Jackson Park Lagoon on June 7th. So they're it's falling apart. It's just whatever they've been telling the cops and telling Crow, it's falling apart fast. They were taken in to be interrogated into separate rooms at this point.
You have to have your story straight. Everyone for this.
Right. And as soon as they get put in separate rooms, they start confessing. But they end up blaming each other.
Of course.
Richard first confessed, said Nathan planned everything and had killed Frank in the back seat while he drove. Nathan also confessed, stating that he was driving and Richard committed
Oh, no.
Yeah, so we don't actually know who killed who. But we think it's probably Richard because he was the one who wanted to start all the crime stuff.
So this is it. Like, everybody is just every man for himself at this point.
The confessions, however, do corroborate most of the evidence, and both admitted that they were driven by the thrill of the Superman delusions.
Okay.
So during the trial, Cook County Criminal Court, it's a media spectacle.
Completely.
It's like been in the news.
How do we end up with the same freaking things?
I know. It's all over the newspapers. The boys were given an opportunity to trace their steps of the crime, where they actually went to each site, like, and like the boys were like almost excited to show what they were doing. Like, look how amazing we are. And they're like, really?
Are you though?
Are you though? And they were so proud of what they had done. They both ended up pleading guilty to avoid the death penalty. The family hired a criminal defense lawyer, Clarence Darrow. He was.
Oh!
You know him?
Clarence Darrow? Yeah. Isn't that like Inherit the Wind? Isn't
probably
that like the Scopes trial, right?
I think so. I mean, he's like.
I think so.
He's a big deal lawyer.
Yeah.
He was paid $65,000 in 1924, which equals $1.2 million in 2022. That's how much he was paid to do this case.
No, I'm pretty sure that he is also like the Scopes monkey trial.
Oh, okay. Probably. He took the case because he was...
If I'm wrong, call me out, Nutty Buddies. But I'm pretty sure I'm right on that.
He took the case because he was so against the death penalty. The trial was basically like an extended sentencing hearing, and it ran for about 32 days. Crow, the state attorney, who was like trying to put these boys away forever, he presented 100 witnesses. Darrow presented a psychiatric circumstances of childhood neglect, of sexual abuse by a governess, saying, this is the reason why those boys committed the crime. And then Darrow gave his finest speech of his career, stating that the American justice system was inhumane with its punishments, considering the age and immaturity of the accused.
Oh.
So he's just like, they're like 19 and 20. They don't know what the heck they're doing. They're idiots. So
your frontal cortex isn't like all the way...
It's not, yeah, exactly. September 10th, 1924, both are sentenced to life in prison with an additional 99 years for kidnapping.
Oh my gosh.
Richard's father, like after the sentencing, dies of a heart attack 1 year later from heart failure. They both end up going to Joliet prison, but they're kept apart but still maintain their friendship. In 1925, Nathan is transferred to Statesville Penitentiary, and then in 1930, so is Richard.
Oh, wow.
Richard dies on January 28th, 1936, after being attacked by another inmate with a straight razor in the shower room.
Oh, no.
Nathan became a model prisoner and made improvements to the conditions of the penitentiary, like adding a library, just doing a whole bunch of different things, adding classes.
This is how, like...
He's stuck.
Actual
Yeah, just trying to make himself better.
Reformation.
And then he ends up writing an autobiography called Life Plus 99 Years. It was published in 1958.
Oh, wow.
It becomes a New York best time seller for 14 weeks. He went in jail, it was 1925, 1958. Nathan ends up getting released on parole.
Oh, okay.
And he ends up marrying in 1961. He ended up moving to Puerto Rico. He gets his master's degree. He's married. And he ends up dying of a heart attack August 29th, 1971.
Oh, wow.
So Rope was based on a real story.
A true story. Oh my gosh.
True story.
And It is Muddy Buddies. Oh my gosh. If you have not seen this movie.
Right? It's so good.
So good. It is my favorite Hitchcock is still North by Northwest.
Mine is Rear Window.
Rear Window is so good.
Right.
But right up.
Rope is good.
Oh, it's so
well
good.
filmed. So good.
So good. So well shot. And if you haven't seen it,
you should
go and find it. Even if it's like $4 on Amazon, pay for it.
Right.
Go see that movie.
Right. Well,
Anyway,
this is where we should take a break.
This is where we're going to take a break, and I am going to force feed Janet 9 sausage sandwiches and a pint of coffee, and then we'll be back for What's Nice.
We'll be back for What's Nice.
If you enjoy getting muddy with us, here are some ways you can help to support the podcast. You can email us at bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com and let us know if you have episode ideas or suggestions. You could also like and subscribe to the podcast on the platform wherever you're listening. And of course, a good review would help us reach new listeners. If you're listening on YouTube, leave a comment in the comments section, please. And you can also join our Facebook group where you can discuss the episodes and also give us ideas and comments about the episodes that we record. And of course, please tell your friends. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
And now we're going to talk about What's Nice here.
Yes, so I think you're starting first with yours.
I am starting with What's Nice.
Awesome.
And I looked around. There is a whole lot that I really like about Louisville, Kentucky, and kind of around the area. But what I couldn't get past were all those sausage sandwiches.
Yes.
And so where I had to go with this,
of course,
is a gas station called the 150 Quick Stop in Bardstown, Kentucky, for a couple of reasons. Number one, they are, Janet, I'm going to show you the first picture.
Okay.
It is
oh, wow.
a basic,
it's a gas station.
Giant gas station.
Yes.
Truck stop. But they are known in particular for Jake's Fresh Country Sausage.
Nice.
Now, Jake's Fresh Country Sausage is made twice a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Fresh there.
Nice.
And in-house. You can get two kinds. You can get the mild or the hot.
Mm-hmm.
They also serve it in a biscuit.
Oh, okay.
And they sell sausage like breakfast biscuits.
Right.
I know that Floyd Collins could down 9 of them. But while supplies last, they typically do about 600 biscuits per morning.
Oh my gosh, wow.
They have a top secret recipe.
Okay.
And the story goes that the owners got the recipe from some people that they were playing in a card game. So I love everything about this.
That sounds
and
awesome.
you can see with an RC Cola and a pickle on top.
We gotta have RC. That looks amazing.
They won this in a card game against a butcher.
It just looks like a sandwich on a bun with
Right.
pickle and onion on top.
So if you happen to be like traveling through Louisville, Kentucky, you can get one of those. If you are one of the first lucky people to get the 600 biscuit sandwiches. This was also featured in Food and Wine.
Oh, wow.
And it's considered to be one of the best breakfast sandwiches in the country.
Uh-huh.
So pull over.
Wow, yeah, no kidding.
And I know that this is very short, but also, if I ever find my way down that direction again,
you'll be getting it.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop for a sausage sandwich.
Of course.
And my sources for this are onlyinyourstate.com, WHAS11.com, and NashvilleByLocal.com.
Awesome. Very
And
nice.
I know it's short and sweet. And, I would put a little bit of, maple syrup on that biscuit sandwich.
Because it's a sausage.
Who doesn't love a sweet and savory? Oh, my gosh. And now I'm turning it over to you.
So most of this happened in Chicago, so that's where we're staying. Now, if we've already talked about this already, Tracey and I are actually going to Chicago in a few weeks. So I'm like, okay, I keep talking this place up. I'm going to put it in here, because why not? So I am bringing up the restaurant that I need to take Tracey to, called The Village. It was opened in 1927 by Alfredo Capitanini, whatever. It is the home of 3 restaurants. It is considered one of the first one that was opened is considered the oldest Italian restaurant in the city of Chicago. It is on its 3rd generation of the family business. It has an award-winning wine cellar with an 1,100 selection of total wines.
Holy moly.
And they normally have about 35,000 bottles of wine there.
Well,
they're not short on wine. Okay?
I don't think I can drink them all. But...
The 2nd generation opened up the 2nd restaurant that's in the same location called the La Cantina. That was opened in 1955. They did not give me a date for this 3rd one. It's called the Florentine Room, but they're all in this one building. I mean, it's just... So I'm going to show Tracey a picture of the inside.
Still there.
This is what part of it looks like.
Oh, it's so pretty. And this isn't outside.
No, this is inside.
Inside, but
This
it
is
makes
inside.
the inside look like outside.
Correct.
Murals and string lights and red sauce and cheese.
Mm-hmm. And then they have here's some more pictures of food.
Oh, I would dig into any of this.
Yeah, so it is literally, I mean, it is one family. It's just on its 3rd generation. It's been there since 1927. If you sit on the original restaurant, which is where the lights were, where it looks like you're sitting outside,
right?
If you look closely, you can see bullet holes and it's from the gangsters during Prohibition.
Oh.
So it's very interesting. I love it there. I love going there. I mean, is it probably a little on the touristy side because, it's just an Italian restaurant? Yes. But is it still amazing food? Also, yes. It's just unique. It's not a chain.
Am I a person that will go to a touristy place for a plate of pasta?
Yep.
Absolutely.
So that is what is my what's nice.
Oh my gosh, that is what's nice. And I cannot wait to travel up. Also, y'all, subscribe to our Patreon because things where we travel are going to be behind the paywall.
Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is where we should end.
I think this is where we end. And oh my gosh, we have had so much fun with our stories this week. But now is where we say goodnight to all of you. And this is also where we say, stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.